This is 1 year later, the series where we take a look at 2019 NHL drafted prospects, and we check up with them and we see what's been going on a year after they were drafted. We already talked about Moritz Seider, we talked about Alex Newhook, we talked about Vasily Podkolzin. So, today we're taking a look at the second Vancouver Canucks drafted prospect from the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. Let's talk today about Nils Höglander, the Vancouver Canucks 40th overall pick, a guy who went from a second round steal to probably the Vancouver Canucks' flashiest and one of the flashiest they've seen in a long time prospects in the system. Nils Höglander was a guy who, in his draft year, played in the SHL. Now, he was a guy who was 5'9". He was 190 pounds. He was 17, turning 18. He turned 18 in December, so he was 18 for the majority of the year, actually. But the fact of the matter is, Nils Höglander was a guy who was only 18, playing in a men's league at 5'9". Now, you gotta be kinda crazy to consider a 5'9" teenager as a prime member of your legitimate professional hockey team in Sweden. But the Rögle BK did just that, and in his draft year, Nils Höglander had 14 points in 50 games played. Obviously, the number isn't amazing, but considering the contextual circumstances, it's actually really good for a teenager to be playing in the SHL and producing like this. It's actually kind of funny because the way he was playing was good enough to get him ranked 29th by Future Considerations, 23rd by Hockey Prospect, 41 by McKeen's, 35 by TSN and Bob McKenzie, and the 11th best European skater by NHL Central Scouting. Nils Höglander was a guy that many people thought had legitimate first-round potential. The way he was able to play the game, the shifty, silky mitts, the flair, the flash in his game, and his deking ability, compiled with his work ethic, his overall engagement in the game, and that feisty flair that he has to his personality on the ice. These were all things that people saw and combined into a profile that said, yeah, you know, this is a first-round talent. Why would he not go in the first round? But he didn't. And in fact, he dropped all the way down to 40th overall, where the Vancouver Canucks snagged him up in the second round. It's actually really interesting because it's actually McKeen's who got him right dead on. He was 41 on their list, and he went 40th, so they had the most accurate projection out of all the scouting services online. However, when Nils Höglander was drafted, the immediate reaction upon Vancouver Canucks fans was, yo, how the heck did we get this guy? This guy was supposed to be a first-rounder. Yo, Jim Benning, what a steal! And a steal is what Höglander definitely proved himself as. Because in his first year after getting drafted, his draft plus 1 year, he went back over to Rögle BK and had 16 points in 41 games, improving that points per game number and getting a little bit more of an extended role with the team. However, there were a few problems here and there. Höglander did get suspended for some really dirty elbows, and that was not great. Obviously, you love to see the intensity and the fire within his game, but the execution and the way he expresses that fire definitely did need a little bit of improvement as the year went on, because you just simply can't shove your elbow into guys' heads. That's not really how hockey works. Come the World Juniors, though, and this is where Nils Höglander absolutely started to shine for a little bit. He had 11 points in 7 games played and was one of the top point producers in the entire tournament. In fact, if it wasn't for him getting removed from one of the last games because he elbowed a guy in the head, then he probably would have had a few more points than the 11 in 7 games that he had to end off the tournament, which was third overall entirely. Talking about that World Juniors performance, though, Höglander proved himself early on as one of the flashiest and one of the most skilled players in the entire tournament. He scored a lacrosse goal in the World Juniors. And it was so beautiful. No disrespect to the Svechnikovs and the Forsbergs, but the way Nils Höglander did it was so much more fluid and so much more nice to look at. It was so eloquent the way he did it. And it's actually kind of funny because he actually did a Zorro goal in the SHL as well, all the way back in like October. The guy has absolutely crazy mitts. And the mitts, combined with the work ethic, combined with the confidence, all of these combine into a player that a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans were so happy to take a look at and draft in the second round. Now, going back to the frame a little bit, we did say that he was 5'9", which he still is listed at on Elite Prospects. However, he is also listed at 190 pounds, which if you take a look at the BMIs, the ratios of height to weight, that doesn't really seem all too bad. In fact, 190 pounds is some pretty normal weight for some 6'1" guys. So Höglander is a legitimate athletic freak, and Vancouver Canucks fans were able to figure that out immediately after the draft, where this YouTube video of Nils Höglander's workout started to come online. The guy is a crazy fitness guy, and he can do the unicycle as well, just like Elias Pettersson can, while doing some crazy body painful looking moves. Yeah, I don't know how to describe this. If anybody can correct me in the comments below, you can definitely do that. But the way Höglander takes himself seriously in regards to the fitness, in regards to being able to compete with the best of the best in Sweden, he doesn't take that lightly. So that's just another testament to the overall drive that this player has when it comes to wanting to do well. And that is ultimately the drive that caused a lot of people after he was drafted to say, hey, is Nils Höglander NHL ready? And that was a video that we also made a year ago, back when the draft actually happened. Is Nils Höglander able to be in the NHL as soon as 2019-20? Now, we didn't actually conclude that yes, he was going to be, but I remember a lot of people in the comments and on Twitter saying things like, yeah, you know, I don't really expect it, but if he was challenging for a spot, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world. Now, we're here a year later. Höglander actually hasn't signed a contract with the Vancouver Canucks, so there's no actual chance of him suiting up for the team earlier on, but the way things are right now, Höglander, if he does eventually sign, which is apparently close, according to Rick Dhaliwal, it's the whole IIHF agreement that is holding up the Nils Höglander signing. But as soon as that is completed, the general idea amongst the fan base and amongst the media is that the Vancouver Canucks will indeed sign Höglander, or at least that is what seems to be the plan. And once he does sign, and once he does make his way over to North America, what the Vancouver Canucks are getting is a potential top 6, a potential 60-65 point player, an absolutely dynamic offensive guy who, even though he's only 5'9", is not going to stop at any length to get to where he wants to go. Höglander is such a crazy story, and the fact that we were able to get this guy in the second round is so crazy. And honestly, I've been seeing a lot of people over the past few years being like, okay, hold your horses, second round picks kinda have to be taken with a grain of salt. And I think a lot of that does have to do with who our second round picks have been in the past. In 2017, it was Cole Lind, and Cole Lind didn't really break out until this year. Cole Lind in his first year in Utica was not great, but that, to me, is mostly just because going from the WHL to the AHL is such a big jump. From junior to pro hockey, it's something that not a lot of people can take extraordinarily well. Same thing with Jet Wu. I wouldn't be surprised if Jet Wu had a somewhat rough first year in the Utica Comets system, because going from the dub to the AHL isn't that easy. However, in a Höglander's point of view, the guy's already been playing pro hockey for the past 2 years, against men, against some of the best competition in Sweden. So, to me, the transition from the SHL to the AHL should be much easier than the transition from the WHL to the AHL. And As long as he is deployed properly, as long as he is given the right opportunities by Trent Cull and co in the Utica Comets system, I can really see Nils Höglander being a really good AHL contributor in his first year, if he doesn't make the NHL right away, which, don't get me wrong, the potential is there. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was 1 year later talking about Nils Höglander, Social 99, and bye.